Hi everyone, I'm Stacy. I'm very sorry that I wasn't able to be there in person with you today. Had a bit of a family emergency and I'm in California, which I can't really complain about. However, I want to thank you all for being here today and for attending this session and for helping us create a space to talk about disability. So I'm a fourth year medical student. However, like Jen, I've been here quite a while and will be around a couple more years. I'm actually taking some time off now to pursue a master's in education where I'll be focusing on disability in medical education. I actually gave a lunch talk last year that was recorded, so I'll try to figure out how to give you access to that video. Now, I became interested in disability from two routes. So first, I thought I wanted to be a special education teacher or maybe a pediatric occupational therapist before coming to med school. And then I don't know what happened, but I decided to go to medical school. And that's where the tables sort of turned for me, because it was in medical school, it was me who was actually diagnosed with a disability. But in medical school, I hit a wall. Like, any of these coping mechanisms that I had been using my whole life just didn't work. They say that med school is like drinking from a fire hose. But for me, it was like I was dehydrated and thirsty, and I was having such a hard time learning that I was jealous that everyone else got to drink from the fire hose. It was like I was so lost that I was just like drinking from a dripping faucet. And when all my classmates would like be nourished by this fire hose, and I wanted the fire hose, but I just hadn't figured out how to get it yet. So, like I said, I talk a lot more about my experience at HMS in the talk I gave, so I invite you to watch that video. I'll try to get it to you, but the point of me sharing my story right now with you is to let you know that struggling is normal. And, it doesn't matter if you identify with having a disability or not, it is normal. Things are hard. You have things in life outside of medical school that are hard. Medical school is hard. Dental school is hard. I can say, just by my own experience and knowing, prevalence of disability and everything, I can say with confidence that some of you in this room, even if you don't know it yet, like me, might get to a point where you could use some support from a disability or accessibility office, and it would be a huge help. So, like the first year of med school, I did poorly. I did bad. At first, I was really ashamed. I hid from advisors. I thought maybe if I made myself really tiny and small, I could just scrape by and become a doctor, but that's not the way it works. I finally opened up to some friends, and I learned that so many of them were going through such similar struggles as I was, and I had felt alone before, but I realized that I was not the only one going through something like this, and that was at least a little bit comforting. So I want you all to stop for a second and think about, just by yourself, think about what comes to mind when you hear the word disability. Think about what's the first picture or word that pops into your head. Okay? Now, how many of you thought of something that represented someone with a visibly apparent disability? I can't see any of you. So, now, for how many of you was that disability maybe not apparent? Okay. I'm talking to myself in a computer now. It's kind of funny. Now, did you think of somebody with anxiety or depression? How about ADHD or a learning disability? How about someone with a chronic health condition like type 1 diabetes or lupus. Often these types of disabilities, these less visible or less apparent disabilities, are not the first thing that comes to our mind. But these disabilities are actually the most common disabilities in the general population and the most common disabilities, the most prevalent among medical students. So many of my classmates, like me, have invisible disabilities, though most people wouldn't know it just from meeting them. Now, I can tell you there are people who are or have been Harvard medical or dental students or students at other top schools who are dyslexic, who have ADHD, who have difficulty processing spoken language, who have PTSD or bipolar disorder, chronic health conditions like heart conditions or more, autism, color blindness, the list goes on, but we're here. And as for me, I was diagnosed with dyslexia and ADHD after my first year of medical school. Personally, I grappled with this diagnosis, but and had a hard time identifying, with the label disability. But eventually, it kind of became comforting, and was an explanation. I'm not stupid. I'm not lazy. It's just medical education isn't always presented to me in a way that fits my brain. So I want to convey to you that even if disability doesn't affect you personally at this moment, disability will be a part of all of our professional and personal lives. 1 in 5 people in the U.S. have a disability, and that makes up a substantial portion of our family, our friends, and our patients. However, not to be too negative, but medical education is notoriously bad at educating us about disability, or at least educating us in the right way about disability. We often learn about these fascinating genetic diagnoses, but we don't hear as much about the people themselves and who have these differences. And we're taught to look for interesting exam findings, more than we're taught to ask a patient what these exam findings mean to them and their everyday lives. So, this was kind of like rapid fire, random chain of my own thoughts, but I really want to convey to you that, this is not a pity party. And even though some of the things that I said before were things that I hope improve in medical education, that there's actually a lot happening here at HMS and a lot of ways to get involved here and Harvard in general and nationally to address disability in higher education and in medical education. Myself and my peers have actually been very empowered in the last year or so, and have been collaborating with administrators here at HMS. And myself, Jen, and some other students have been working to bring a student voice to administrators and collaborate with them to make improvements in academic and disability services at our school. We've made tons of progress, and we would love for you to reach out if you're interested and helping us continue the work for positive change here at Harvard. So I'm actually in the process of recruiting people to help me set up a student disability group here at the medical and dental schools, but I need your help. So what some of the thoughts I had, but I'm happy to hear your thoughts and happy to add to these objectives. But the general idea for this student group would be to focus on improving disability services for students, but also on improving the way disability is taught in our curriculum, moving to more of a social model of disability, away from the medical model and us viewing things from a medical lens. An example can be having fun sessions where people, workshops where people from the community come and help us teach how to be not so awkward when we're doing a history or a physical exam on a person with a disability. We're also hoping to form we're actually I should say we're forming with some peers of mine at other Harvard schools a Harvard-wide disability group, and this will be really cool because I think there's definitely power in numbers, and it'll be a great opportunity to enact some positive change and give a positive view to disability at Harvard all around. So then there's also this, what I'm really excited about is this forming national medical student group. Name is to be determined, but I've had the opportunity to meet students at medical schools across the country who either have disabilities themselves or are allies and are interested in improving medical education for students with disabilities, are interested in improving disability in medical curricula. And so I'd love for you to also join me in that and get involved. It'll be a really exciting opportunity to be able to establish something on a national level. And with all of these things, at no point will anybody be expected to disclose any personal details of why they are drawn to this kind of work. So you are welcome to share as much about yourself as you want to, but we don't want anybody who maybe has a disability or has a friend or family member or some personal reason for caring about this and wanting to work toward it. We don't want them to feel like they need to disclose something they don't feel comfortable disclosing. So it's open to people with disabilities and, as we say, allies. So as next steps, I'll send out an email with all of this information that I just talked about in terms of these groups, and ask if anybody's interested in helping out in joining forces with me as we continue to improve disability in medical and dental education. And I do also invite you to reach out even if you feel like you don't have time to take on an active role in any of these things. If you just have a suggestion or a thought, or we're doing something, we're new to this, so if you notice we're, not doing something super accessibly at an event or anything, I have to say I am so sorry I did not have time to put closed captioning on this video. I do apologize, and if I get the time this week, I can try to do that and send out the video with closed captioning. It's an error on my part. But please reach out even if you're just seeking support from somebody else that's gone through similar experiences or struggles, and you're just looking for someone, maybe an upperclassman who's done this before. I'd be happy to talk or try to connect you with somebody who would be good to talk to and who you can receive some support from. So thank you so much for watching this long video. I really hope you had a great session with Jen. She's fabulous and such an expert. We're always here for you. Thank you, and welcome to Harvard.
Say
bye-bye.
Boy. Boy.
Say bye-bye, Jada.
Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Boy.
Welcome to Harvard.
Jada, say Harvard.
Boing, boing, bye. Papa, 我来了。
Bye.